Hello everyone, one and all. Welcome to Unicorn Light Tarot. I hope everybody is doing, sincerely hope everybody is doing amazingly well today, this evening, whenever it is that you are clicking on to this video. If you are brand new here, welcome, welcome. 2 thumbs up. And if you are already a subscriber or a brand new subscriber or have been here for a while, welcome again. It's such a great honor to be able to read for you today. So as always, if you've been here before, we have the healing candle. These sessions, these readings work on different levels from healing to activation, whatever it is that you need. So we have the healing oil that was made under the full moon many moons ago. Actually, it was an eclipse, I believe, the time that I made it. So you can either release onto the candle or bring in abundance and healing. It is set up for abundance and healing. So any kind of healing that you need. So go ahead and work with that candle throughout all of these sessions. And we also have our beautiful unicorn here today who seems to be sort of farting on the sun, or as my husband said, warming his butt on the sun. But however you choose to see it, we have the whimsy with us, the unicorn energy, of course, at Unicorn Light Tarot, giving you some extra healing and loving energy. And today, what we are doing is we are finding out what you are being prepared for, messages of support from your angels. Now, your angels could be literal angels, Archangel Gabriel, Archangel Michael, Archangel Ariel. There's a ton of them. Or it could be your guides or your passed on loved ones and ancestors, even passed on pets. Whoever comes through, we shall see. This is a timeless reading, but it is in October. We are in Scorpio season coming up to Halloween. So the veil is particularly thin right now. So we'll see who comes through for you all. So we have the tarot here, and I chose these. So for pile 1, we have the letters BF, either best friend or boyfriend, or it could be initials. I just sort of let them drop, and those two sort of spoke to me. So that's pile 1. So if the BF is speaking to you, that's your pile. And then we have and for your pile 2, which is and what's coming next. And then we have KS. These letters just dropped out as I dropped them down, and that's what came out. So I mean, whichever letters or pile is speaking to you, it doesn't have to be that these letters represent anything specific in your life, but go ahead and take as much time as you need to. As always, pause the video if you need to. The more calm and relaxed you are, the more in alignment you are with yourself and your intuition, the more that these readings will become sort of part of you and will resonate with you more. So take as much time as you need. Timestamps are always down below. So let's go ahead and move this forward. I'm going to put the and to one side and the KS to one side. So if you chose the BF, again, this could mean anything for you. BF, and it could be just B and F. It doesn't have to be together. This is your reading. So it's, what are you being prepared for? These are messages of support from your angels. So we're going to start off, we're going to direct this reading pretty specifically and get you as much information as we can. So these two first tarot cards are going to be, what have you been through? And then we're going to move, how has this prepared you for the next portal in your life, and what are you being prepared for? So we're just going to give you a little background and see what we get here. So Ace of Swords is your first card. I think this is the Shadowscape. I can't remember the tarot. If I remember, I'll link it down below, but these are really beautiful. So the Ace of Swords coming up, the Sword of Truth there from the darkness. And then the Seven of Swords reversed. So what we can see here, pile 1, is what are you being prepared for and what have you been through? So The first thing that we can see, the first message that I'm getting for you, Pal 1, is that what you've been through is really deciphering your own truth versus the many voices that are A, going on in your head, and B, going in around you. And the voices that have been in and around your head are pure reflections of the external world. You came in with ancient knowledge. A lot of us do, with ancient wisdom. But you've connected with this world in such a way that it's almost like when you were born, you got right into the world. Now, babies are very sensitive, kids are very sensitive anyway. You are extremely sensitive, and what you saw in the world was sort of dismaying to you. So there might have been the observer part of you, like watching people treat each other in a way that was sort of from ignorance or from the ego. And it's something that you saw within yourself. And even when you saw it and you acted that way, you still wanted to sort of take it apart and see where all this behavior came from. So you're the not typical, but you're the observer in this lifetime. Now you have a lot of truth, but you've been waiting to speak your truth in this lifetime, waiting for a perfect time. Now there's a reason for that. There is a timeline to who you are and who you will become. For sure, you definitely came to this earth at this time, at this particular time, which is unprecedented, of course, for a reason. And part of that reason, you could have been feeling, gone through your life feeling a little sad or overwhelmed or even depressed or, sort of unconnected or disconnected in some way. And it really is about finding your truth. It really is about finding a way to speak your wisdom. And it's also about this time in history is for everybody, if they choose to, Earth is a free will zone, but if you certainly choose to break down the systems that have been sort of governing us one way or another for thousands of years, and a lot of it's been scaped in darkness, right? So the light is coming through and the light is pouring out and showing all of the wounds that we need to heal. So everything's come up to the surface and it looks a little chaotic. Well, not a little, it looks really chaotic. And a lot of people are saying that this is the end of the world. And in many ways, they're not exactly wrong. It's the end of the world. It's the end of an era. And if you're attached, if your ego is attached to that privilege or any part of what you could get out of how we've been living for the last thousands of years, then it's going to feel as though the end of the world is coming for you. Now, this is our time to adapt, to see how all of this didn't work for everybody, to bring in the truth for everybody, to have supreme justice, to really sort of connect in a brand new way, not versus fighting me versus you or somebody else is better than you or anything like that. This is a way for us to really diagnose how we got into that situation and refigurate it. And you're going to be part of that process. So watching this process in and around you in the external world has been very disheartening for you, and you're extremely sensitive on top of that. So what have you been through? You've been a lot. At some times, just to keep your truth alive, it's been a lot to sort of bob to the top when you feel so much. And so much of that energy is drawn you under. There's a part of you like maybe way before, you've definitely worked on that. And we've talked about this in other readings, the trap of constantly needing to heal. The healing is done, the releasing is coming in. And really what it is, it's a series of going through your life and picking out the wisdom, putting it all together. That's really what this time is all about for everybody, not just this reading or this pile. So what it is for you specifically is going back and refigurating your truth based on your own voice and your own power, grounding into your own power, and literally, completely and totally dismantling the external, what has gone on before, and how that relates to yourself. You see, the way in which it has related to you from the interior is that even though you didn't really believe and there was an essence of you that was fighting the system in your own way. And if you're creative or however it is that you live, you bring in these instances here of how you fight the external, how you fight, for want of a better term, the patriarchy, and never really believing in any of that stuff. So you've always felt on the outside of it anyway. But there were essence of it, the way in which you were judged, the way in which you had to integrate to a certain point in your life. You brought in some of that energy, and the external became the internal, and then it became internal judgment. So you started judging yourself, not from necessarily who you thought you were, but who you believed other people thought that you were. And that's really easy to do, because it's very difficult to have this freedom and this beauty that you've wanted and you've wanted to protect in a world that doesn't really appreciate it. So you've done your best, but this is your time. As everything is crumbling and falling apart, the chaos is coming in, the light is shining onto the darkness and what we need to heal. Not everybody will heal from this. Other people will stay very, very clearly and firmly with what they've known in hereditary, in their DNA for the last thousands of years. And again, Earth is a free will zone. They get to do that. There's no judgment here. But that's not why you're here. But your voice has the chance to be part of something that's beyond a system that you grew up in and around. And also all of that energy that you put in and around your head that goes round and round and round, all of those doubts and I'm not good enough and this way and the other, and comparing yourself to the external of other people that have done things because you don't want to do it that way, but you haven't found a way forward on your own terms because the time wasn't right. The timing is right for you. So it's been really difficult for you. This best friend, we can definitely feel that the sense of connection needs to come in for you. And the sense of connection will be forged for you on your own terms by you as you pull down all of these sections and all of these past remnants of history and these systems that we were made to live in and around. And unless you're completely and totally off grid and did things your own way, we're all susceptible to how society judges us. And for somebody as you, so beautifully sensitive, and you also attracted these people who may have been sensitive, but they were also quite mean at times. So, it's not like you've not met aspects of your soul family. You may have met them along your life, and they were strategically put along certain paths in your lives so you didn't give up hope. But the striving that you have to live in your truth and to live in your light and to be seen for who you truly are, as you have not been in past lives and how you will be in this life, is coming for you. But what you've been through, honestly, is the mire of figuring out where somebody else starts and you begin, really coming back to a sense of self that's complete and total autonomy and authenticity without being influenced by the external. That is not an easy thing to do, and it's not usually done in one lifetime. You've been preparing for this lifetime for many, many lifetimes, and somebody who had not been preparing for this for many, many lifetimes would have crumbled and would have left this earth a lot sooner than you. And again, there's no judgment there. This life is not easy to live in, especially if you want to do it on your own terms. So everything that you've had to figure out, you've had to renegotiate what success means to you. You've had to renegotiate what intimacy means to you. You've had to reconnect and renegotiate what true connection means for you. You've had to renegotiate everything. And this is exactly what's going on right now. So let's get you, how has this prepared you? The strain and the struggle that you've been through with observing everything and feeling as though you weren't doing enough or feeling as though you weren't enough because a part of you wants to take on the entire world and make everything a better place, which is beautiful. But of course, you're not here to do that. And that's part of your journey. That's part of your healing. That's part of what you're here to discover about yourself. And you absolutely know this now. But what you've been through, how has this prepared you for the next portal, the next way up in your life? So let's see how this has prepared you, what you've been through, being able to see all aspects of how people work in the world. And it's been difficult for you to be able to look at somebody and as they speak to you, you're thinking bullshit, 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 bullshit. That's directly from a movie. I can't remember where it's from, but Finding Sarah Marshall or something. Bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. But like people will tell you something and you're like, that is not what I'm seeing. And working through the world like that, where people think that they're pulling something over your eyes. And sometimes you did, because you shut yourself off from the truth because you wanted to believe that they were good people. But it's been difficult to be able to see through the mire your entire life, and yet not be able to put it to the use that you really believe that you could put it to. But again, you're here to do that right now. So why did you go through that? Why were you born in this lifetime? To be able to see through the bullshit, to be able to see through the mire. What is it preparing you for? The victim, to let go of the victim mentality, and to also teach others to let go of the victim mentality, for sure, and wisdom. Okay, so you've got the green heart chakra coming into your own version of how you love. Everybody's here to be loved and learn how to love, but you are really here to learn how to love and how to be loved. In many different lifetimes, you may have not had so much of an emotionality, so much of a connection with emotionality. You may have been very sort of masculine brained, and that's a wonderful way to be. That's the way that you were before, but that's not why you're here today in this lifetime. You're here to actually understand the power of the emotionality, ground into the power of it, but you may not have felt that you knew exactly how to work with this emotionality, and you were born as a very sensitive empath. So this could have not only overwhelmed you, but you could have blocked it, shut it down, and not seen it as a gift at some point in your life. You could have seen it as a bloody curse, to be honest with you. And that's totally understandable. And getting back into that victim mentality, we've all been there, and it's important to be there because it's the victim mentality. Things are done to people, and very often, we say in these woo-woo communities, the energy that you put out, you attract. To a certain extent, when there's energy out there, you can get a reflection of where you are, certainly, but it's not to say that you deserve what it is that you're doing. The energy that's trying to match you, your frequency. You don't deserve, and you've not deserved a lot of stuff that's happened in your life at all. But again, and we've said this recently in other readings, things happen for you, not to you. When you get into that objective mode and you say, all right, this did happen to me, and you know what, I'm acknowledging that it was really shitty. I'm also acknowledging that I did nothing to really warrant that, but there was a nugget and a lesson there. And and we say here at Unicorn Light Tarot, and I want to be very clear of this, it's not saying, I'm not one of those people that says that you need to forgive. You don't need to do anything. If somebody's treated you badly, trust me, karma is going to get them. And whatever you want to do about that is totally up to you. Again, there's no judgment. But it's not about like forgiving people. You can forgive the situation. You can even forgive yourself for being in there. Whatever it is that you need to do to create this distance so you can heal from it and create the wisdom is the way that you need to do it. But you don't automatically have to forgive the other person. If they did a horrible job, you get to acknowledge that. And that's okay. That's absolutely okay. We're 150% supporting you in that way. But what you're here to do is you're here to understand that the crap that you go through, again, is happening for you and not to you. You are to transcend the victim label on a human existence and move beyond that and really be able to extract the wisdom from everything that you've been through and be able to work in the world in a new way, be able to see your frequency rise and be able to see the external mirror the internal and have that graciousness back in your life. And you're also here to show other people how to do that, how to live in their authenticity, how to ground into their own power, how to live life on their own terms. And you cannot do that if you're still claiming victim. That happened to me. They did this to me. They did. Yes, that is true. They did do that to you. But you've got to transfer or transcend that victim mentality. It literally keeps you exactly where you are, and it keeps you looped and looped and looped and looped, and you will keep going back to the same instances, pulling it all apart, figuring out what you can do, and staying with exactly the same energy. That's what the victimhood energy does. So if you want to stay out of that, and Pile won the loop of going round and round and round, if you want to transcend that, you have to see it for what it is. And that is a personal thing. Again, how you forgive, why you forgive, if you forgive. The most important thing is that you come out with the objectivity. You're able to extract the wisdom from everything that you've been through, and you get to move on in the way that you want to. So What are you being prepared for? So you're transcending this right now, and if this is resonating with you, this is your magic. What is it? Working with your magic oracle deck, I believe. If this is resonating with you, then you're here for pure connection and pure love, and to find that for yourself with your own authenticity. You're here to be seen for your own wisdom, completely and totally. You're here to be seen and to be heard, without having to dumb yourself down in any way, shape, or form. That's why you're here. And this is the practical element of it. Literally pulling up or regurgitating the victimhood of aspect, which is a very human way to go. And again, it comes from a need to acknowledge that, you know, shitty things are happening. Totally understand why the victimhood mentality is there. We've all been there, absolutely. And the victimhood mentality can move us on to the next understanding of ourselves too. It's part of the parcel. So there's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to say, oh, this is terrible. It just keeps you in a loop. That's all it is. There's no judgment around the victim mentality. But you're right here, right now. For most of you, you're transcending the victimhood of it, releasing your past, bringing in the nuggets of the old, putting it all together and moving forward. So what are you being prepared for? What life, what kind of life are you here to live? We've got a remnants of it. We've got an understanding, at least the foundation of it right now. Expectations. Don't seek anyone's approval. Again, this is absolutely you coming into your own authentic self without apology, without having to dumb yourself down, without using that beautiful chameleon mode that you have, going into any room and absolutely sort of working the room on your own terms, with nothing said against that. That's a wonderful trait. But at the same time, you give away a little essence of your authenticity, and then an aspect of your personality melds into the room instead of other people melding into you. I feel as though for the last couple of months, this is kind of, in essence, what a lot of people are going through. They're just coming at it in a little bit of a different way. So what else do we have? Again, definitely authenticity on your own terms without apology. You also probably say, and we've said this before, we just said this, read forgive, and it's reverse. Normally I don't do these oracle cards reverse, but this one felt like this. Want to be really clear about how you use your anger and how you use your voice. It's not, you don't have to forgive if you don't want to. You don't have to forgive that other person. You've been through hell and back. You get to be angry. You get to use your voice. You get to use it any way that you want, and you honor that. You don't let anybody tell you how to heal. We're here to guide, and if it resonates, then absolutely use this information. But this is really for you to have your authenticity and take in. You're the sort of person that, instead of going down one route, one person's this, one person's that, you know, they're, people use labels. I mean, vegan, I mean, some people use it as a label, and, you know, even if you really believe in it, but they're very connected to the label. They're very connected to this and that. Now, labels can be a way to reclaim the soul, so that can be a wonderful way too. But for you, you won't take on any real labels, even if you have in the past. You'll take a little bit of everything, and then you'll create your own version of yourself from that. You won't equate yourself with one or the other. Even if you are vegan, you're probably not the sort of person who will really sort of bring it up in a conversation. It'll be a while before anybody realizes, or they'll notice that you don't eat certain foods, and then they will ask. So you're not into those labels. So the way in which you heal, there's no right or wrong way to do it. And you know this for yourself, you know this for other people. So it's really just about, at this point, how you want to heal, how you want to gather this wisdom from the victimhood, how you want to be objective. You don't have to forgive the other person. It is important that you forgive yourself for being there, and going through what you did, because some of you stayed far too long in situations. You need to forgive yourself for doing that, because we've all done that, whether you didn't think you had the strength or whether you were holding out for the other person to change. It happens, and you can't be hard on yourself like that. You know, you can't judge yourself from this present moment from how you were years before. So if there's anything for forgiveness, do it on your own terms. But I really do we want you to look at the fact that you just need to forgive yourself for everything that you've done. You've done your best to make amends in every situation that you possibly could. You are that kind of person. So please have faith and forgive yourself for the past. That will connect into the victimhood so you can transcend it, move into the wisdom, and then you can move into this beautiful, authentic self. Now, your sense of freedom is at play here. So, who is coming in? Messages, support from your angels. You definitely have Archangel Michael. You definitely have angelic support around you. But I'm also feeling fairy energy and unicorn energy. So it's amazing that, feeling this and giving you this energy, elemental energy, sort of very light, elemental, beautiful energy, inner child energy, innocent energy. Getting back to that sense of innocence. Obviously, children are innocent, but a lot of you, and these are general readings, if this resonates, great. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But a lot of you didn't have much of a childhood. You didn't get to be a child for as long as you should have. You were very grown up, or you realized that the people who were around you weren't acting as grown up should be. So you stepped in a little bit quicker than you needed to be. And this is about reclaiming that lightness, that childhood, that beauty, that joyous light essence of whoever it is that you are. So I'm not surprised that elemental energy is all around you. So we want to give you a little bit. So angels, definitely unicorn energy, definitely elemental energy, even gnomes and leprechaun energy in and around you. So you're being prepared for a life of pure freedom on your own terms. Now, even in past lives, you didn't get to really work with your freedom on your own terms. So coming into this lifetime, you may have come in from an understanding that you had to work within a certain legacy, a certain time frame, a certain box in order to be successful. So this was really important for you to go into all of those systems that made you believe from past lives that you needed to do that, and literally desecrate them, allow them to fall apart. And that's what's happening to you. So for some of you, you've been feeling as though, the dark night of the soul, because everything is leaving. All of those systems are crumbling finally within you, so your soul can be free. Now, when you're free and completely authentic, you will actually be in and around people and cause people to be, you will inspire people to be completely authentic just because you are. You'll also piss off other people because they'll sense that freedom in you, and it will be entirely triggering. But that triggering will dissipate in other people as you claim your authenticity. If you've moved out of the victimhood, you've already gained your wisdom, but as you're showing your authenticity, and this is where you are right now, as you're showing your authenticity, you're noticing that you're pissing a lot of people off, or people are being triggered by you. And it's obviously not you, because some of it's kind of out of left field, but they are really vehemently triggered. That's because they feel as though they can't reach that authenticity, and you've triggered them. But all you have to do is hone in on that power, ground into it 100%. You're still working with a new way of being. Remember, you've not quite achieved this. We don't want to say that. You've not quite been able to live beyond the system in other lifetimes before. So this is brand new for you. So that's why it could be a little bit confusing as to where to go and what to do, because this is absolutely a brand new timeline. In all of your past lives, this is a brand new beginning. This is brand new. You've never been here before. And you don't really have a frame of reference, because all of your frame of reference is literally falling apart, and it needs to be. But once you ground into your power for good, you won't feel the triggering. You won't be affected by the triggering anymore. We're not going to sit here and say that everything's going to be fine and dandy and you'll never trigger anyone again, but it will be completely different and it won't affect you. So if you're in and around and you're rising up in the freedom, but you're noticing you're pissing a lot of people off, that's why. Let them do it. Shut them out. It's fine. It's their own crap. Anybody who's triggered needs to go back and refigurate their life and why they're being triggered. It's not for the other person to get involved. So it's totally up to you to provide that light for others. But if they don't want to see it in a way and want to project it upon you, you can sever your energy, wish them good luck, wish them all the light and love in the world, and tell them, with your own energy. You don't have to physically tell them, just say, I'm done. Go off. I wish you good luck. May you find who you are, but you don't need to connect your energy with theirs. So let's see what else we have. 9 of air, expecting the worst, self-fulfilling prophecy, sleepless nights. This is an old way of going round in the loop and loop and loop. You know that doesn't work when you're in the victimhood, because also when you're in the victimhood, it keeps you in the mentality of things are going to keep happening to me. I'm never going to be able to get out of this. Even if something good comes in, I'm not going to be able to keep it. So what happens is it messes with your level of commitment. I'm not going to commit to this because I want to see if it plays out first. And the way in which you move and navigate your life is not as intensely personal as it could be. So this is your old you, 9 of air. This is the old you of being in that victimhood and coming out of the victimhood and still releasing yourself from the echoes of the victimhood, of still expecting the worst, because that's how it was before. Because when you're in the victim mentality, you are expecting things not to work out. That's done. You're done. Page of Earth. Good news about financial matters. Wanting to do something more challenging, a new area of study. So this is exactly where you are. Now, don't be surprised, Pile 1, if your life changes in such a dramatic way and yet very little has changed, if that makes any sense. Your new direction with authenticity and freedom might take you in a direction where you want to study this and you want to do this. And in a way, like we've said, you know, you've not been here before. So be open to everything that your intuition is telling you. This is really interesting. This is really interesting. Allow yourself to be open and just move forward. Whereas before you were learning so many things and you were taking in so much information. But a lot of that was to preserve who you were and to allow you to see things how they were, so you can allow everything to crumble and move into this stage of your life. So, you know, this is dependable. This is definitely just go with what you feel. Your intuition is great. It will bring success. It will bring financial. If you've had financial burdens, and a lot of you have, or you've been good financially and then not so good, it's been ups and downs, because you're grounding into your power and that authenticity once and for all. Remember, you're here for ultimate connection. You're here for love and to be seen on your own terms. Let's do one more. Knight of Earth. You've got a lot of Earth energy. Pentacle energy is coming in. Absolutely gorgeous. Time to buckle down and get things done. Honor your commitments, a guardian angel. So it is time for you to move forward and embrace this new element of the freedom, authenticity on your own terms, not making any excuses anymore. If somebody doesn't like the energy that you're putting out there on your own terms, just allow them to go. The one thing that we will say is not everybody's going to like you in this lifetime, because that's just the way that you are. Again, you are going to stand for the light and you're going to be triggering for some people. So, you know, just let people be how they are and do not take anything personally. And it's difficult for you because you've been projected upon your entire life. So it's very difficult for us to say now, don't take anything personally, because how could you not have? But you're working through this specifically with the victim mentality. So you can do this. You are absolutely ready to really ground into that authenticity and freedom. Allow yourself to be seen on your own terms, moving through the victim mentality and really allowing this new path to unfold and being excited about it. If you're feeling a little bit lost, that's because it's totally understandable that you would feel a little bit lost. You've never been here before in any of your lifetimes. So bring in your guardian angels, bring in that beautiful inner goddess, regardless of gender. Bring in the fruitfulness of the guardian angels that you have and your divine feminine. If you have not gone in, and I think it's the one just before this, where we channeled Mother Gaia, the original goddess, go ahead and go in there too. That's the energy that's going to bring you quicker into fruition, into the brand new beginning that you have, which will be successful if you listen to your intuition and go for fields of study that you truly want. You're here to have the life that you've always wanted without compromise. So this is the beginning of that. This is the timeline, and this world, as we see it, as we move through it, will allow that. So this is what I have for you, Pal 1. It's very exciting stuff. I'm truly excited for you to love and be seen and be accepted on your own terms for exactly who you are. So well done. So if this resonated with you, do feel free to give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments. I truly love hearing from you guys. And don't forget to go ahead and come and subscribe and hit that bell icon if you're not part of the Unicorn Light Tarot family. We would love to have you. Do 2 videos a week. It's like, I think, Wednesday, Thursday, and then one on Saturday in the afternoon Central Time. So you'll be notified straight away. And don't forget that we have the Unicorn School of Light. Right now, I'm offering all of those courses. One of those courses is for free, but the other 2 courses, they are priced very low, but it's pay what you can. If you absolutely feel as though you need one of those courses in your life, get in touch with me. I will put my email down below also, and it's just literally pay what you can. No embarrassment, literally. If it's $1, it's $1. It's $5, it's 10. Whatever it is, if you're being called to one of those courses, we would prefer that you get to take them and not have money, take you away from getting the support that you need. So all of those details are down below. So until we meet again, Pile 1, congratulations on your beautiful, authentic self. You stay safe and sane. Bye-bye. Okay, Pile 2, welcome to your reading. Do not forget that we have our beautiful unicorn energy and also healing and abundance candle for you to either release whatever it is that you no longer need in your life or bring in abundance and healing. These sessions are always set up for healing and activation also. So if you picked the as in, and what's next, then this is your reading, and we are doing a what are you being prepared for? Messages of support from your angels. And we'll see, angels could be literally angels, or we'll see what energy comes in for you. And just to give you as much information as possible, let's put the and up here. Oh, maybe, yeah, perfect. Then these tarot cards will be, what have you been through? So we're really just going to lay the foundations for you, and then move on from there. So what have you been through? The Queen of Wands and the King of Swords. So for you, Pile 2, you've been through a balance of the divine masculine and the divine feminine. It's also been an understanding of masculine and masculinity versus the divine masculine, reacquainting yourself with what that means. And as we said, before in Pile 1 and in many other piles, it's not masculinity and the masculine versus the divine masculine, which is Christ consciousness, is completely different to what we see in sort of everyday life, and how women are treated within the systems of, for one of the most part, the patriarchy, which is falling one way or another and is sort of crumbling. It is crumbling. So it's been difficult for any of us, particularly for you, but we totally understand where you're coming from, to really decipher the difference between the divine masculine, holding out for the divine masculine, while the masculine or the masculinity, that kind of energy in your life, is trying to figure out what the divine masculine is. It's almost like you're waiting for people to sort of not exactly catch up with where you're at, but your understanding of spirituality was graciously given to you in many, many different past lives. So you were in many ways sort of fast forwarding in this lifetime. And particularly in relationships, there would have been a need for the other person to catch up in one way or another. But I mean, that's where you were attracting. So, what were you supposed to do? Like, not date? So for you, what you've been through is this melding of the divine masculine and the divine feminine, how that works for you, and really defining what that is and seeing how that works for you in this lifetime. Now, that's not been that easy for you. It's been a real process, and it's driven your sort of psyche through the mire, as it were, as you see a lot of people work from their ego, and a lot of you have been in around this very sort of masculine energy. It's got nothing to do with gender. This could be masculine energy on a woman or whatever it is, but you've witnessed a lot of masculine energy where it's very viewpoint. This is how you do it, X, Y, and Z. We move forward, linear, nothing else matters, I'm right, You've seen a lot of that, and you've had to really witness it in yourself too, and it has shown up in yourself, although the way in which you treat it, the way in which you work with it is very different, but you do see it in yourself. And of course you have to have a reflection of that within if you're seeing it in your external. So You're here to sort of understand flexibility, to reunite and requate yourself, and transform the understanding of masculine into the divine masculine, and then have this melding of the self that you've never quite had before, of this pure balance of power between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and how they work together as the divine masculine holds space for the divine feminine, as the intuition and the beauty and the wisdom is spoken into the world, and also the drive and the magnitude of the divine masculine, moving forward in that way. So melding in that way, and also seeing it in your outer sphere also. So the truth of who you are and where you've came from, or where you've come from, is very much in that melding of the masculine. And again, redefining what that means for you, and then redefining how that works in the physical realm, in the external realm, what energy you allow into your life. You've had a lot of people that have explained things to you too. So that's kind of been quite difficult for you, insofar as, when you're trying to work on something, you've really honored the divine feminine, and you're like, I'd like to speak to you about this, or I'd like to talk to you about this, or, when you're trying to refigurate certain things and really work with somebody else, they've sort of shut you down. Oh, that's okay, or that's fine, or I don't really get it, or they've kind of ignored you, or they've said, yay, I totally understand what you're doing, but then they sort of dismiss it and go back to exactly the same relationship that you had before, when you're trying to really understand it and improve it. So you've had a lot of people in and around you that have sort of, what's the term, mansplained things to you. Again, it's got nothing to do with gender. A lot of people are around women who do this, explaining things, and really what they're doing is they're filtering your experience from their own limited experience of how they feel, without giving you the space and the empathy to really understand how you feel on your own terms. It's always coming from a sense of them, right? So that's been quite difficult for you to deal with in this lifetime, because you've been made to take on other people's versions of you. You just have, and that's the way that they've done it. Now, they weren't nasty people necessarily. They may have been working on their stuff, and at times they may have seen you as a way to treat you as a scapegoat. I mean, some of them may have seen you in a way as being a little bit weaker. So, they can treat you a certain way. And that's the way the divine feminine has often been treated. People who are too emotional, quote unquote, have often been treated as lesser than, because it's not been honored. But actually, the way in which you're working in your life, you're taking off in leaps and bounds. And these folks are still wondering what the F is going on, So you're coming into fruition in how you're supposed to be, and really understanding that connection between the divine masculine and the divine feminine, and letting the masculine and the feminine aspects, the polarity aspects of yourself and how it reflects in the external, fall away. In Pile 1, there was systems, the system, governments being ruled, the patriarch, all of that's falling away on the outskirts, and it was falling away on the inner for them. For you, it's specifically the polarity, and really honoring the beauty of who you are, and and really having the guts to honor the part of who you were that was not mocked, but certainly not taken seriously by others. So, it's a real sort of firm ground for you to say, you know what, this is amazing. My emotionality is my super strength, and it really is. I'm going to use this. I can do this. I'm going to be absolutely in touch with it. Some of you may have shut it down and even been ashamed of it at certain times, because you were shamed into feeling that way. Again, the way in which people treated you, was only a reflection of themselves. You were very rarely objectively treated correctly, and given the correct and the significant space and empathy to heal on your own terms. You've had to create that space to heal on your own terms in this lifetime. You were never given it. You had to create that space, absolutely, to heal on your own terms. If anything, people try to take that space from you. You've had to cultivate that space, and at times you've had to fight for that space in order for you to be able to heal on your own terms. So what you've been through has been tough, but it's exquisite, because you get to let everything fall apart and reacquaint yourself with exactly who you are on your own terms. So Um, how has this prepared you for the next portal in your life? How has these experiences so far in your life prepared you for what's next, your next portal, your next opening? Let's see. This discovery, I actually just turned this around and this absolutely popped out at discovery of who you are, again, on your own terms, without you having to filter who you are through other people's versions of you. And it's almost like there's a little bit of anger around that, or resentment. It's almost like they didn't even try to see things from other point of view. You really did bring in the narcissist of the world. I mean, I don't know if you had a neon sign piled too, but you pulled in all of those narcissists. Me, 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 you know? So, and even if they did sort of listen to you, it was still so they could use it either against you or in some sort of narcissistic way. It was just a really specific way that you kind of brought in the narcissist. But, you know, that is in the past. You do understand that now. And, you know, that's how people are. I do believe that a lot of people are brought up in and around narcissism and they don't really understand what it is. So they take on the narcissistic tendencies. And it really takes a lot to be able to sort of pull those apart on a personal level, because they're ingrained in you. You were brought up in and around them. They became very normalizing. And it's normalized in Western society, certainly. Narcissism is absolutely normalized. It's even like sought after, for Christ's sake, you know. But we're seeing something all changing in society now. We're seeing through the facade of all of it. So you were way ahead of everybody coming in, very similar to Pile 1, although the energy sort of works. But the essence of the messages are very different. But if you're being called to go back to Pile 1, this could be Pile 1's energy, again, is very similar. But the message which is specific to Pile 1 and not specific to you right now might resonate with you. So see how you feel. If your intuition leads you back to Pile 1, you might be able to pick up some extra information there. So you've got discovery and you've got forgiveness. And forgiveness too, we have forgiveness in pile 1, not with these cards, but with others. It's all about sort of forgiveness in a specific way. You've already done the work with who's come into your life, and we don't even want to talk about forgiveness there. You've made your peace with all of that. You're done with that. We don't need to regurgitate it. The forgiveness comes with the world. You saw the world as being very harsh. You were very angry at the world. You were very angry in general. And also the way in which people treated each other, which is totally understandable. But the way in which you went, what it is that you went through, harbored this sort of resentment. And you sort of resented the world, or you resented the masculine, projected upon the masculine, thinking it was the divine masculine, without being in touch with the divine masculine. Now, the forgiveness comes with the softness of coming back into power and equating that with nature, truly seeing nature for what it is, a reflection of the divine masculine, which is Christ consciousness and absolutely gorgeous, and letting the masculine aspect of self and the polarity aspect of self fall away. That's where your resentment lies. You know, you were not in touch with the divine masculine. And in all fairness, pile 2, you did not have a lot of examples of the divine masculine coming into your life. You did not. If you projected upon them, they were movie stars or whatever it is, you projected upon people that were not in and around you. But your actual physical examples of the masculine were masculine. There was nothing divine about them and nothing bad about that. Again, everybody's doing their best. You know, it doesn't excuse what they're doing, but everybody's doing their best in that moment. They have choices to make. They make choices. They go along with it. But the people that you were brought up in and around made specific choices based on what was ingrained in them. They didn't really want to look outside of the box and really look at themselves. And if they did, they didn't take it far enough to make the change where it would have affected you. So the forgiveness comes from the softening of how you felt about nature. You could have even have been angry at God. You could have been angry at source. You could have been angry at nature, at the world. However you saw it, you were angry, you were frustrated, and you had every right to be. Coming back to that sense of forgiveness, There's no forgiving on their part because they always held you. They always knew that you would come back to them. They always held you when you were crying, when you were falling apart, and all of this was going on, and you didn't feel as though you would ever be in a position to discover yourself. They knew you would. They knew that you would be at this point. So it's this softening and this redefining and reaffirming of the divine masculine coming in with the divine feminine, honoring the divine feminine aspect of self and allowing the divine masculine within yourself to really, really pulsate with the divine feminine and give space to that divine feminine within you. Honor your emotionality, honor your beauty. When you stand in this energy, you give others permission to do this too. What you've been through is a global pandemic. We're going through a physical one, but this working from the ego has been very, very prevalent in the last hundreds, thousands of years. Me against you. I'll use my Bible. I'm better than you because God says I am. Whatever people use, we've come into a world where people use one thing to get a leg up and say they're better than somebody else and judge other people. And that's ingrained in society. It's now falling away. So not being able to be given that space to heal because nobody believed that you should have had that space to heal. Buck up and get on with it, and you taking that space to heal is the first way that you did this on your own terms. But by standing in this power, by standing in this new discovery as the polarity aspect of right and wrong, good and bad, male and female, merge into how it always should have been, the softening comes in. And that's where you become your authentic self. There's different ways that everybody's going to come into their authenticity, and they're all as valid as each other. This is the way, pal, too, that you're coming in. You're going to heal the past and show others how to do it just by being you. So, and what are you being prepared for? So in your lifetime, we've seen what's going on right now, but what are you actually being prepared for in this lifetime? What is it here that you're specifically, uniquely supposed to achieve or supposed to have in your lifetime? And let's see if we can get some understanding. Pile 1 had elemental energy. You have this fire energy. You have Jesus energy in and around you. You have Mother Mary, Queen of Angels, definitely Mary Magdalene, a very strong Lilith energy, Hecate energy, very mystical, dark mother, dark goddess, but also the light, again, coming into those, balancing those polarities and then literally releasing those polarities forever. It's not a surprise to me, Paul, too, that you chose and, because it's for you, and. It's always and, because it's endless. Whatever it is that you go through, this expansiveness of your soul has shown you that anything is possible. And, don't rest there. There's more to see. There's more to feel. It's this gorgeous expansiveness that's coming into you, which is directly correlated to the softening of who you are and melding all aspects of self. So what are you being prepared for, my darlings? Let's see. Knight of Earth. Did this come? Yeah, this came up in pile 1. So you might want to go back to pile 1 because forgiveness came up too. Again, it's not the same card. If you're feeling called to, I definitely feel like there's an overlay here. Time to buckle down and get things done. Honor your commitments, a guardian angel. So it's about coming back to who you are and doing things on your own terms. Now, you've usually doubted, this is a general reading, so if this aspect doesn't resonate with you, that's fine. But you've usually doubted yourself when you're truly doing what you want to do. But you'll take yourself down the road of, I don't really want to do this, but practically minded, I think it would be better for me. That you have no problem with. You have no problem assigning your energy to make yourself miserable because you feel as though you need to do it. But when it comes to doing what you actually want to do, you don't have the energy, or you don't have the hope, or even if you have the energy and the hope, you get lost in this real sort of sense of ambiguity, or will it work out, or this, that, and the other, because you're not used to following your heart in many ways. You know what it is to follow your heart. You have impeccable intuition, but you let your practical mind steer the road. You're not doing that anymore. if you took the level of commitment that you had for doing all the things that you never really wanted to do and applied that to everything you do want to do, which you're well versed in doing and you're ready to do because you have enough knowledge to do it and you have enough experience to do it, you would take off in a second. It's about your level of commitment. You have to choose you. You have to choose. Well, you don't have to do anything, but but you can choose you if you want to. Choose you, choose your heart's desires, and choose it with every cell in your body, and everything else will fall into place. You don't have a problem with commitment. You've just committed to the wrong people, the wrong situations, and the wrong things because you thought they were the right things to do. That's totally fine. You weren't wrong. You weren't wrong, and there's no judgment here. But for now, things have changed. And now this is about you putting yourself first, putting your energy first, you moving forward, doing what you need to do on your own terms, which means anything that you feel is right for you, you put every aspect you have in there, all of your energy. I'm not talking about money. We're not talking about any of that resources. All you have to do is put your energy 150% behind it. The universe will take off right like that. And then you're off in a direction. That's all you need to do. Justice, Archangel Raguel. Fair and just decisions. Do what you know is right. Stand up for your beliefs. Again, you absolutely are here to be a voice. Well, not necessarily be a voice. Again, we're talking it's to stand and hold space for the underprivileged, to stand and hold space for the underdog. You are the epitome of the underdog. As you were growing up, you probably watched movies about the underdog and they really hit home. Those are the movies that hit your heart, made you cry, because you knew that that's who you were. There are a lot of people out there who didn't really anticipate how far you would get. And again, you're going to do so much in this lifetime, and your timeline is melding to bring you in to this timeline so you can absolutely go out there and do it. And and you're going to be one of those people that people go, where did this person come from? But actually you've been moving steadily towards this goal your entire life. But it's going to appear like you come out of nowhere and all of a sudden you're there, whereas other people, just go in a linear direction. That's not you, but you have been moving toward your goal of being seen, of being holding space for the underdog, and really being a voice of justice where everybody can come away from the understanding of polarity and stand for justice and have a real firm connection with each other, regardless of any other attributes, just from the experience of being human, right? We're all human. That's it. We come in naked, we die alone. Beyond that, no one's better than anyone else. And if anybody ever tells you anything different, it's absolute bullshit. So that's what you're here to do. That's what you're here to put out there. You've got the passion. You've got the will. Your voice has been shaking when you put out this understanding, and there's been a little bit of like, I don't know if I'm strong enough to do this, and that's totally understandable based on your past, but you are strong enough to do this. And again, once you fuse the understanding of the divine feminine, there's many ways to be exquisite and articulate. You don't have to use the masculine sensibility. That's for you to let crumble, and that version of it to fall away, and really again soften into this beautiful nature-filled world that always had your back, and really spend some time getting in there and really equating your energy again, and really distributing your energy and having this founding energy with your guides, with source, with the universe, with the world. Repair that. You've been angry at it, and you had every right to, and there's no judgment from any side, and certainly not from source. But there's beautiful repair energy going on here, and it can be a really rewarding energy if you allow yourself to really spend some time there, really get back into your soul. And for those of you, you're absolutely fierce, and like it might take a really long time for somebody to push you to the edge, but when they do, you come out fighting, you know what you're doing, but there's a beautiful softness to you. Don't ever underestimate that softness to make those decisions to change the world. There's so much softness and beautiful. Look at Gandhi, for instance. He stopped eating and changed the world. Obviously it was a little bit more complicated than that. But sometimes when we just hold space for ourselves, again, you had to fight for that space, but you don't anymore. Give yourself that space again to really heal and really define what you believe true power is. It's not connected to the masculine anymore. That sense of power is crumbling. We're seeing that worldwide. You know, the divine feminine is rising. It's nothing without the divine masculine. We are coming in together, but the divine feminine of all that is, that's going to be the true power. And it may seem a little not woo woo, but it may seem a little less powerful than the divine masculine. But let me tell you, that energy packs a punch. And again, you know, Mother Nature knows when to yell and when not to, you know. So redefine your essence of power. Come away from the understanding of polarity. Let it all fall apart and really protect yourself. You know, get into your nature. Allow nature and allow your guides to come in and really, really, really allow them to come in and help you in this healing process, in this cocoon process, before you shut down your guides, because you know, you just did out of protection. And again, you were angry. You know, you may not have consciously have done it, but you know, and a part of you were ultra independent. You had to be independent. It's almost like you were shot out into the world. Yet from day one, you had to figure out how to survive, right? For some of you. So you're used to being ultra independent. I'm going to do it myself. That's why when your practical, you know, male brain came in, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do this and I'm going to get this money. I'm going to do that, you know, but it wasn't what you really wanted to do. But because you were hypersensitive to having to be your own person and not rely on anyone else, you know, it was difficult for you to bring down those boundaries and those barriers. But now you don't have to do that. There's a softening happening there. Let your guide show you the way. It's time. You're ready. This is absolutely everything that you want. The timing is perfect. So redefine your sense of power. Enjoy the and whatever it is, whatever your heart's desire, whatever it is that you're interested in. You could really just do a simple meditation, figure out what it is that you're interested in, and then you could figure out, you know, aspects of your life that you've actually been moving toward that very thing, even if it's completely off field, right? Let's just give you an example. You know, I want to be a ghost hunter. I want to do a paranormal show. This is really off the cuff, but this is the version that I was given, right? And you say, that's random, right? That's random. But then you do a meditation and you figure out, I've been dealing with energy my entire life. I actually have seen ghosts and I'm clairaudient, I'm clairsentient. So I do understand that. I also have the power to protect people. I can go into a house and I can make people feel safe. I also know how to expel entities that shouldn't be there, as I've learned throughout. And then you'll see that the one thing that you're interested in that might seem initially completely out of left field, there's aspects of your personality, there's aspects of everything that you've done and put yourself through that's been leading to that very thing. So really allow your mind to expand and say, what is it that I want to do? You know, and you don't even have to be that specific. I want to be a ghost hunter. That's very specific, right? But it could be, what are my interests? You know, occult, narrow it down. What is it specifically in the occult that you want to do? Or shamanism, what specifically do you want to do? Witchcraft, you know, is it spell work? What is it that you want to do? Is it the medical field? That's great. What is it that you want to do? How would you bring in? And then you'll see everything that you've been leading up to has been leading up to that one moment. You've just here to connect the dots. So this is a really exciting time for you, Pal 2. I'm really excited for you. And do let me know if this resonated with you down in the comments. I love hearing from you guys. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. And of course, subscribe and hit that bell icon if you haven't already, because we would love to have you here at Unicorn Light Tarot in this beautiful little family. 2 videos a week, like Wednesday or Thursday, and then 1 on Saturday. That's what we're aiming for. And also for extra support, do not forget that we have the Unicorn School of Light. There is one free, beautiful course and 2 other beautiful courses that are pretty low to spend money on, but I'm doing a special for anyone who feels called to do a course. You can pay exactly what you want. If it's $0, that's fine. If it's 50 cents, if it's $1, if it's $10, whatever it is that you feel that you can pay. If you feel that you really want to do the course, I'm going to leave my email down below. So get in touch with me and we will make it happen. There's no shame in whatever it is. It literally is what you feel you can pay right now. It's much more important that you get the support that you need. All right. You stay safe and sane, Pile 2. And until we meet again,
Bye-bye.
Okay, all you Pal 3ers out there, don't forget that we have the healing light here and activation. So if there's anything that you need to release, go ahead and do that. And this is also doing, giving you some healing and abundance energy too with this healing candle. And we have the KS, if that's what you chose, for Pal 3. Now that could be initials. I know it needs a couple more letters for KISS, but it could mean absolutely anything, or it could be just a K or an S. Those are the letters that fell out and just felt right for this pile. So that's a personal thing for you. So your messages are, what are you being prepared for? Messages of support from your angels. But we're going to get you the most in-depth reading that we can. That's what we like to do at Unicorn Light Tarot. So these tarot cards specifically are going to be, what have you been through? So what have you been through, we're going to give you a foundational reading and then move you into some more and specific things that are going to come up for you. So what are you being prepared for? That's the ultimate thing. But what have you been through? So you've got the Ace of Cups here. And you've got the World. Okay, so the first thing that we're getting for you, Pal 3, it's being, and you know, Pal 1 and Pal 2, slightly different energies and definitely different messages. But the energies are definitely overriding all the way through. It's about being authentic in the world. And for you specifically, it's about the empath that you are. It's working and dealing with your emotionality and seeing that as a the superhuman part of you. You've always been able to use it sort of on the down low. You're extremely imaginative, extremely creative. So imaginative, I would say, we would say, Pal 3, that you can go from one thought into a spiraling thought in under 30 seconds and convince yourself of absolutely anything. I mean, your mind is so open and malleable. It's absolutely incredible. Now, you often have used that trait sort of against yourself in some ways, but it's there nonetheless. And once you have the capacity to be able to do that, you know, all you have to do is train and retrain your brain and use all that beauty for you instead of against you. But you really do have the capacity to sort of go into different realms, see different things. Imagination, absolutely incredible. It's like, you know, if somebody asks you to read a story, you might even go off into your own version of it, and your version will be infinitely better than the other version. You can also take apart sort of and you would be very good at editors and things like that. But if you're not going in that direction, it doesn't really matter. But, you know, you'll watch a film, and if something isn't working in the film, you'll be able to break it apart and see what isn't working and kind of put it back together. Well, I would have done that there, and I would have done that yet there. And some of you may have trained in film, and some of you may have not. But you understand the narrative. You understand how people's minds work. You also understand the amount of imagination, and you can connect it to this really grounding force insofar as, like, you know, a little bit of you is a little bit woo-woo, is a little bit out there, but then you've got this real sort of practical, grounded sense that grounds all that energy in and would be able to, like, take a film apart and say, this is why it's not working and this is how it could work. I like what you've done there, but it doesn't work and this is why. So it's really about, and also the biggest thing for you is really accepting that beautiful aspect of you that is a little bit out there, that you may have broken down, or it's been broken down over the years, or it's been hidden, or it's been protected. Your inner child is in there too. Needed to protect the inner child. And again, there's never any judgment here. There were certain, these are general readings. If it resonates, it resonates. But for some of you, a good portion of you, maybe even, you had to sort of protect your inner child. And that's what you felt like you needed to do. And under the circumstances of what you went through, it's totally understandable that you felt like you needed to do that. And you brought your inner child out when it was safe, or when you felt like you needed to, or if it was some sort of special occasion, you let them out. But they've not been fully integrated into your life, and this is a way that you can do this. Now, you've been working on the your inner light and integrating your profound sense of freedom and equating that freedom with the emotionality that you had, because you've got this in common with pile 2. Because you've definitely seen it not necessarily as a superpower. Objectively, you've seen it as a superpower, and actually when you see that same power that you have with the emotionality and the empath, you see it in somebody else, you're always like, wow, that's incredible. But when it comes to you and how you actually treat that gift, it might be slightly different. And in many ways, you've given other people the benefit of the doubt before you've given yourself the benefit of the doubt. So in that way, you've got that kind of energy. You've got that in very much the same as pile 2. It's a need to put yourself first, and it's a need to pile all of your attributes that you have and put it behind yourself and just say once and for all authentically, this is me. And for you, you've never really tried to take on the traits of the world. You've not become harder necessarily. You still have a really, really soft heart. There's parts of you that you've shut down out of protection, but those can just be opened up really simply. You've done the work to heal all of those wounds. And if we said before in these readings, and certainly readings very similarly to this, but in the last couple of months, there's no reason to get involved in the healing trap anymore. A lot of the healing is done. This is a time for action. There might be a time for connecting the dots and some revelations coming in there, and certainly some releasing, but you've done the hard work now. This is time to see the payoff. This is time for a little bit of releasing and then seeing on the other side. Don't get involved in the trap of going down that rabbit hole and let's go back into the darkness. There's no need for you to do that. So if you've shut down aspects of yourself, you can just open those back up. And that's all that you need to do. But you've not really allowed your heart to harden in that way. You're still the first person to weep at a Charmed episode, or whatever it is that, those puppy episodes, they have them like in Europe, the RSPCA, with the puppies, and send them money, which of course everybody should do, look after the animals, and not should do, but we should be looking after our animals. But you're the first person to weep crying. All of that stuff is really going to hit home with you. There's still a softness to you that you've kept behind closed doors, and you've been made ashamed of it. And in this way, you sort of share a little bit with pile 2 again. So if you feel as though you're being called to pile 2, you might want to check it out. Because there might be some extra energies for you, and you'll be able to tell within the first couple of minutes. If it's not resonating, then leave it. But if you're feeling called to, definitely check it out. So to be in the world the way that you want to be able to redefine what people see as weak or inconsequential, and to really define your power by this beautiful softness that you have, that's absolutely gorgeous. Now for you, you've actually been quite balanced between the divine masculine and the divine feminine. You've seesawed a little bit. You are prone to extremes one way or the other way, but that's the way that you needed to learn. And it was really important for you to be one way or the other way, for you to learn balance. That was your process. And you may have had people who have said to you, I don't even know how you live. You're so intense in this way and you're so intense in this way. But they didn't have to learn that way, and that's their own private affair. But that's the way that you needed to learn, and you learned beautifully that way. And there's always going to be a sense of intensity about you when you really want something, when you're going to put 150% of your energy behind it, and no one's going to get in that way. You're always going to have that passion, that drive, and that intensity. But you are going to be able to acclimate it better. You are going to be able to balance it better, where you're not constantly seesawing from the light and the dark. So, for you, it really is about the sea and the ocean and the water, and what brings you calm, what brings you the calmness in your day-to-day life, because you can get really head up about things and then your energy sort of takes over. It's also a way of controlling your mind, not in mind control or anyone, but really being in touch with your mind. When your mind goes off, it really goes off in a direction, and you can really prompt it to calm down and say, we know this isn't going to work for us, to really hone in on your emotions, which have sometimes have railroaded you. And sometimes they've taken you to a place where you had something really beautiful to say and it was really poignant, but because the emotionality came up, by the time it came up, people didn't take you as seriously as they should have. And again, that's part of the process. This is what you have been through, and it's that balance of bringing you back to be able to really understand your own power at its core, and to also take yourself seriously. For those of you, and again, general messages, take what resonates, but for those of you who don't take yourself as seriously because you're not as accomplished, or you keep looking to people who have the sort of career that you want, or this, that, and the other, but you have no intention of being them. You have no intention to do whatever it is that they did to get there. And again, that's totally fine, whatever their path was with their own personal path. But you don't want to do it that way, and yet you compare yourself to somebody. And this came up in a reading recently. There must be a lot of energy where people are doing that. It's really important for you to negotiate on your own terms and believe that the way in which you may step softly, but you're still stepping, and you will get to exactly where you need to get to. It's this understanding where, living in the world, you don't want to do it the way other people have done it, and yet you don't see another way to do it, and then you confuse yourself because there's no action being taken. Well, the action that needs to be taken is just like this: going in, releasing all of this other stuff that doesn't work for you anymore. And what really doesn't work for you is not taking yourself seriously. Sometimes you didn't take yourself seriously because of that emotionality. And this is the way you could see it. This is what we're saying to you. And you have this energy around you. You have a lot of strong ancestors around you. You've carried a lot of ancestral energy. So when you were speaking, sometimes it hit wounds that were really deep. So of course you were going to be emotional about it, right? And if other people weren't emotional, they were not connected to your ancestral ties, so they didn't see it that way. That's one explanation for you. But also, you are here to hold that energy. So of course you had a lot more emotionality, but you have to take yourself seriously. You have to understand that your power comes from that emotionality, and to allow yourself to be overwhelmed by something is amazing. Too many people are so driven by a lot of people are driven by their egos, and they won't allow themselves to really encompass anything because they've set their minds up. I'm right. I've got this. I know who I am, and this, that. They're not open to any other directive. When people are speaking to them, they're constantly thinking of what they're going to say next. They're not really listening to the other person. They're not really there to learn. They're there to teach. But what they're teaching has already been taught. So, you're here to really experience the gauntlet of everything. And a lot of people won't give themselves time to do that. And they won't allow themselves to be vulnerable enough to do that. So what you've done is gorgeousness. So judging yourself, being in line with people who were judging you, who weren't willing to do what you did from the beginning and allow yourself to be vulnerable, what's the point? What you can do now is to understand that's what you did to yourself. Forgive yourself for doing that because, you totally were doing your absolute best. But in that forgiveness, bring in that emotionality and really succumb to it and give yourself a huge fucking hug, pat on the back, whatever you want to do. Take yourself out to dinner or cook yourself something nice if you're not going out and about right now. And just be thankful for the fact that you were open enough to allow all of these emotions to run through you. Yes, you didn't have control over them. Yes, you did put up boundaries and you were figuring them out. And yes, you did think that you were weak because you had those, but you still allowed them in. You still allowed them in, and you still allowed yourself to have them, and that's an incredible feat. Now you have to go back. You don't have to do anything, but if you could go back and really pat yourself on the back and really see yourself as this incredible being with a huge amount of courage, so much intense courage that most people don't have, just to be able to live and experience the way that you did, absolutely insurmountable, absolutely gorgeous. So that's what you've been through. How has this prepared you for your next portal in life, for your next giving, for your next step up, for your next timeline? How has this prepared you for that? And remember, we are getting messages. What are you being prepared for? So yeah, how has this prepared you for this? And let's get some ideas. Definitely feel some ancestor energy. Perfection. Okay, so Right, guilt, and I'm feeling one more here. But yeah, we got it. Perception, beautiful. So very much from what we were saying before, letting go the idea of perfection. And the idea of perfection is going down that road of doing it the way that other people have done it without really wanting to do that, right? But feeling as though maybe that's the way that you should have because no other situation has come up. There's a lot of confusion around your pile 3 about how to move forward and how to do things. Now, there shouldn't be any because you have intense and beautiful intuition. And if you follow your heart, and again, this is coming back to pile 2, you probably do want to check out pile 2. If you trusted your intuition, you trusted your heart, and put yourself into a situation that you really want to do, instead of pulling in other people's experiences and judging your own path, or trying to pull in versions of other people's experiences to line your path, which will never work, and get out of the idea of anything being perfect. So the way in which you try to get attention and try to get love before, and we totally understand that. In some ways, I believe I've done this, is to be to seem perfect, right? So if somebody is expressing something they don't like that in you or in a person, you will shut that aspect down of yourself. And again, do not get back into this whole, oh my goodness, I need to go back and heal any of this. There's nothing to do. It's just a tweak in your perception. All you need to do, and this is really important for you. I don't often say this. In fact, I don't know if I've ever said this, but for you, it's really important because you've got this beautiful voice and you don't speak it as often as you can, but it's really important. And you don't have to do this physically. Don't be calling people up or leaving weird messages on Facebook or anything like that. But you can go back to your life and you can do the proverbial, like, fuck you. Like, literally to everybody who tried to tell you who you were. And for every situation being integrated, everybody else's version of their world being integrated into how you should live. Do the proverbial fuck you, because that's your way to pull in your anger, and you'll be able to cut those bonds completely and cut those cords completely. And then the sense of perfection, which is confusing you, which you really don't believe in anyway, an aspect of you only use that sense of perfection, so you could feel as though you were doing things right, quote unquote, or you could gain other people's affections, but you always went for the affections of people that really you weren't that interested in. The people that have loved you and adored you throughout your lives are the ones that have been supporting you throughout your life. The people that you focused on, that you wanted respect from, you didn't even respect that much. You thought they really needed to go back and work on themselves a huge amount. So why you put your energy into trying to be, perfection for them, or seemingly have it all together when maybe you didn't, or take on the attributes that they thought you should have so you can be their version of perfection? No. So do the proverbial fuck you. Do it. Again, not to the person, because these people were not actually, they were lessons for you. There was nothing personal about your interactions. They were lessons. So you're saying fuck you to the lesson. You're not saying fuck you to the person, right? So don't get involved in that. And again, you're not going back to regurgitate and bring up the old. Nobody wants to deal with that shit. You don't have time for it. You're ready to move on. This is about encompassing and grabbing and keeping, not just grab, you grabbed many times before, but grabbing and keeping and insulating your own authenticity based on your own version of self, the way that you want to do it, with your emotionality intact, and with this beautiful, open, imaginative gorgeousness. I mean, if any of you are in the creative arts, I mean, you are going to be top of your field, because I promise you, nobody is going to be writing or doing the way that you do. If you're acting, you're going to be bringing a sense of whatever it is that other people can't bring. You're going to be bringing it to the table. And yes, of course you can't compare to yourself to other people, because nobody's done this yet. So also, don't feel guilty about the time. Again, I think this came up in pile 2, possibly even pile 3, pile 2, 1, possibly the other piles. Please don't spend any time. I know we know that you've given a lot of time to a lot of people who probably didn't deserve it. You stayed in situations where you really shouldn't have. You outstayed your welcome, so to speak. And you stayed in these situations because you genuinely saw a beauty in the person. You've treated people because you can see through them. You can see the crap that they're saying, first of all. That's also part of pile 2. But you can also see the beauty of what they can achieve. It does not mean, and we want to be clear about this, it does not mean pile 3 that they will achieve it in this lifetime. It does not. That's course of action. That's up to them. It does not mean that they will achieve it. It's totally up to you to cut the bonds earlier. You did not do that, and that's totally fine. Everybody understands that. You cannot judge yourself, as I've said before, you cannot judge yourself from where you're standing right now from what you did before, because you were not the same person. But it's really important for you, because you're very hard on yourself, to go back and relieve yourself of that guilt of staying in these situations too long, or ignoring the red flags. Red flags are signs from our guides. Red flags are not obvious to the person who's red flagging you. They're just not obvious. They're there for you and you alone. And they're to show you that this is not going to happen. This is not great for you. Now, should you choose to go down that road anyway and pull in the experience, that's up to you. You have free will, but your guides are telling you there are red flags. You've always had those red flags. You've been in and around them. Your intuition is impeccable. You've ignored them and moved through them. That's fine. You cannot be hard on yourself right now. Don't be hard on yourself for, moving through those red flags and not taking them seriously, or seeing them and not doing anything about them. The most important thing is that you're not there anymore, and you're really taking yourself seriously, not too seriously, and that's good. Lighten up, enlighten up. But a little tweak in perception can bring you back, release the guilt, forgiving you, and just see it this way. You really gave a platform. You really gave your heartfelt self to people when other people would not have stayed with them that long, because other people would have listened to the red flags, right? But the people that you had in your life and you really kept in your life a little bit longer than maybe they deserved to be, nobody ever treated them like that. Nobody ever gave them that space, and you were able to do that. So don't feel guilty about that. And that would have helped them in some ways. Now, it was important for you to cut the cords and pull yourself out of that situation, because none of those situations were good for you. But there's no reason to be guilty. And remember, there's no reason to keep this sense of perfection. We're here to be gloriously imperfect. We're here to be messy and vulnerable, and not many people let themselves do that. And that's why you're here. That tweak in perception really brings in that energy, hones in your power, grounds it right into your system, so that your voice, even if you feel like it's meek, even if you feel like it's not enough, even if you feel like you don't have the strength and the power that others to get your voice out there, your uniqueness, your quirkiness, and your solitude, your version of solitude, and how it is that you emanate your power is more than enough. So what are you being prepared for? Let's see. And definitely getting grandmother energy, definitely getting very strong ancestor energy coming up. These are your angels, and that's because you've really been carrying a lot of that energy, and you've really been working through it. So you've been healing yourself and your bloodline. So that's why the emotionality has felt heavy at some times. But again, you've been releasing that. Now your family, now your ancestry is actually in a lighter version of self, and really be able to step up and help you in ways that they weren't able to help you before. They were always there and wanted to, but this is a new level of connection with your ancestors. Also, there's a level of ancestral sort of not just healing, but gifts that have been brought down into the bloodline. Some of them you may be aware of. Some of them you're aware of, but really haven't worked with to really implement and integrate completely. And some of them may be absolutely brand new. But I wouldn't be surprised if there's some clairsentience or some other version of spirituality, or some gifts that come in that either become much more pronounced or brand new. So these are just being literally passed through the bloodline now that it's clearer, and they can help you with it. So that's beautiful. That's also something that you're being prepared for. So what are you being prepared for? So again, this came up. My goodness, I think this came up in pile 1 and pile 2. Forgiveness, absolutely. We said this already. The forgiveness of your past, forgiveness of the guilt of being where you were before. Villain, you can always rewrite your story. This is all about rewriting your story. Absolutely. The narrative that you gave yourself based on how much energy you gave to other people. You've really given away a lot of your power. Some of it you are aware of, but they preyed on you when you felt a little bit weaker, and some of it you just gave away, and that's totally fine. Again, you're very powerful. You actually had a lot to give, so you were able to do that. But it's really important for you. Your voice will get a lot more powerful. And again, it's not about how loudly you speak. You've been in around people who have taught you one way or another that if you speak louder, you get your message across. That's absolutely not true, and it's not true for you in this lifetime. You can say very little and get everything you need. I mean, with one look, people know what the fuck you're talking about, you know? So it's really about rewriting your narrative, really understanding how none of this has worked for you, and reclaiming your power that you've given away before, and forgive yourself for doing that. There was a lesson for you to learn in giving away your power and to be stripped sort of naked in this. So you really get to sort of retweak who you are. You get to let things that aren't working for you fall away in this beautiful way, and you get to reconstruct yourself with what it is that you want to keep and what it is you want to stay open to. A lot of people don't have that, or put themselves in that situation. So by rewriting your narrative, you really honestly get to keep what you want. Pull in that power that you've given away. Some people are still holding on to that power because they're actually using it because, again, you're extremely powerful and they don't have that power for themselves and they don't want to cultivate it. They want to take other people's power. They don't want to cultivate it. But you know what? It's really not up to them. And again, it's not about getting in control or, or I'm better than you, or working from your ego, or being in direct contact with that person. But you work with your guides, you work with their ancestors. They're very, very powerful, lay of the land type people. They've worked with nature and energy. They know magic. They know black magic. They know white magic. They know green magic. They know every kind of magic under the sun. They're very, very powerful, your ancestors. So they will help you pull back that energy back into your own power source where it belongs. And you know what? Whether these other people across the way still want to keep that energy, you can still pull it back. It ain't up to them. It's up to you. So, Page of Earth. We've been getting a lot of Earth cards throughout. Good news about financial matters, wanting to do something more challenging, a new area of study. I do believe Pile 1 got this. So yeah, actually getting back to the earth, getting back to the pentacles. You are getting back to financial status, being successful, doing what you want, instead of like 6 steps forward, 4 steps backwards, or, finally having the guts to move forward and really saying, this is what I want to do. And then being, it's not moving in the direction that I want. Now I'm getting some self-doubt. I don't know. Now I'm feeling like I don't have enough experience. Again, 150% commitment. Understand that the universe is working with you. Your ancestors are working with you. And financial success might be a little bit different. Yes, you will be gaining financial success. But here's one thing that we want you to do if you're up for it, if your intuition says. Great. For those of you who are getting hung up on financial success, it's totally understandable. Who doesn't want finances, right? Instead of seeing it as money, ask for freedom. Really, at the end of the day, money for you really doesn't mean that much. So you've had this mixed energy about money. Again, this is a general reading, so it may not resonate with all of you. But you've had a mixed energy with money. Some of you may have even thought that it's kind of dirty, or, it's great. I like having it. You like nice things and everything. But I don't know if I, with whatever I'm supposed to do in this life, this altruistic kind of version of self. And there's nothing wrong with that, of course. But, if instead of trying to renegotiate and spend a whole version of yourself trying to renegotiate your idea with money, just tweak it a little bit. A twinge of perception here. Instead of seeing it as financial gain and money, see it as freedom. Money gives you freedom. It gives you the life that you want. You can look after the people that you love. You can support people who are in a lesser position than you, but who are talented and need some help. You can give back. You can... philanthropy, whatever you want to do, but it gives you the freedom of not worrying about whatever it is that you want. It changes everything, right? Money is freedom. Tweak your perception around money, and then your finances will change instantaneously. It's not that you're not great at manifesting. You're wonderful. Once your energy's behind it, you're abundance queen, king, everybody in between. You're an abundance person, right? But really, at the end of the day, it's the way in which you see money. So tweak your idea about finances, and that and that will really help you sort of hone in on what it is that you want to do, and also won't put pressure on you to make the sort of financial investment and see the finances coming back into something that's brand new or whatever. You'll see it as freedom, and you'll just, whatever it is that's taking off right now, you'll give it the space to allow it to take off. That's the other thing. Sometimes you're extremely impatient. You'll put yourself out there, you'll put all your energy behind it, and then in 24 hours you expect to be like the CEO of this, that, and the other. Now, I can really attest to this because I absolutely have no patience whatsoever in my system. So I'm right with you there, Part 3. But you have to understand that the universe has their own agenda, and their agenda is always much better than yours. So it's leading you in a direction. If you don't see the results that you want to see in the first couple of days, it doesn't mean that you're lost. So tweak that financial version of money and see it as freedom, and that's going to loosen up and give you some much more space to really connect with your idea of success completely differently. But you are owed this, and you are getting it, and you are moving forward with it. Once you hone in on that grounded sense of loyalty to yourself and pull back your power and ground it right in, then nothing is going to stop you being who it is. And I do see for a lot of you, it's creativity. A lot of you, creativity, music, art, definitely writing, and really putting a spin on like old tales, like really bringing your sort of unique aspect of self. The way in which you articulate yourself is very, very different. So anything creative, and this shouldn't be a shock to you. You should already have honed in on the musician, artist, creative side of self. And for those of you who are melding that creative side with the sort of more masculine, sort of very medical side, there's ways in which you will do this to bring it up to the sort of next level. So what are you being prepared for? Justice. That's so weird. I swear to you, this came up, I think, in Pal 2 too. So this is up to you to bring the balance back, and to also not be a voice. This is the beauty of what you're going to do. You're not going to be a voice for people who are sort of treading lightly on this earth, but you're going to advocate for people who are treading lightly on this earth. Again, we've been in thousands, hundreds, thousands of years of people. Let's take what we can from the land. Let's talk over people. Let's be masculine. And we're coming into the divine masculine and the divine feminine of walking softly on the earth, being responsible, for all of our energy, taking responsibility, profound responsibility for our energy. There's no need to be really about things. And that's the energy that you're bringing specifically to this lifetime. And you are going to give that space for others to do just that. Give them license, give them voice, give them a beauty, and to give them just to give them support, and to be able to do that, because you'll be able to do this too. This is about treading softly and being extremely powerful, bringing back that emotionality. Let everybody else fight it out. It's not even being above it. You've created that narrative. You know what that narrative is. People who fight and try to be right are still in a narrative. This is who I am. This is where I've come from. You already know. You've outgrown that. You don't need that. You've allowed all of this to come in, and you know what it is to be vulnerable. You're going to stand ground for others to be vulnerable, and that's exactly what we need in this lifetime. It's absolutely gorgeous, and you will do it with grace and with style and in your own unique voice. So I hope this resonated with you, Pal 3. If it did, do feel free to give me a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below. I love hearing from you guys. And do feel free to subscribe and hit that bell icon, because we would love to have you here at Unicorn Light Tarot in our lovely little family here on the internet. And there are 2 videos a week. You'll be notified immediately, either Wednesday and Thursday, and then one on Saturday in the afternoon. And don't forget, there's plenty of support in the Unicorn School of Light down below. All the links are down below. We have a free course right now, and another 2 courses that are really low in price, but till the end of the month I'm doing. If you're feeling called to any of the courses, you pay what you want. If it's nothing, that's fine. If it's 50 cents, it's fine. If it's $1, $5, $10, whatever it is that you can afford, just reach out to me via email and we will make it happen. It's much more important, if you're being called to one of the courses, that you take it. So do let me know if that is something that you want to do. Again, the email is down below. So you take care of your beautiful, gorgeous, soft, but powerful self, Pal 3. Stay safe and sane, and until we meet again, bye-bye.